Hi everyone, my name is Sirisha Estares and I'm the third speaker of the affirmative side under practicability.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janko Costales Vergado, a researcher from this bench.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivan Nico Persel. I am also a researcher for this bench.
Thank you very much, Esperanza National High School. And ladies and gentlemen, from the negative side, we have Isula National High School.
Good afternoon everyone, I am Amira Galmat, the first speaker of the opposition side.
This afternoon, everyone. I am Arnie Wahe, the second speaker of the opposition side, talking about the beneficiality.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Julian Takashi Akabyang, on the third speaker for the opposition side under the practicality.
Let's welcome the researchers, please.
Good afternoon everyone, my name is Arian Torres and I am one of the researchers of the opposition side.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Zayana Pasinag and one of the researchers of Sula National High School.
Thank you very much, Isula National High School. And ladies and gentlemen, their proposition to be resolved is suspension of the death penalty be lifted. Without further ado, let us welcome our first affirmative speaker for his constructive speech. And your 5 minutes starts now.
Madam Chair, esteemed judges, honorable members of the opposition, and distinguished guests, I am Gerald Paulo Armatulis, the first speaker for necessity. We stand here with a clear message. The reinstatement of the death penalty is necessary to ensure justice and safety in the Philippines. First, let me clarify the parameters of this discussion. If reinstated, the death penalty would be reserved solely for the most egregious crimes, offenses, those committed by individuals who show no remorse and whose actions inflict irreversible harm on society. This is not a call for indiscriminate punishment. It demands undeniable evidence, fair trials, and in most respect for due process where guilt is established beyond reasonable doubt. Now let us explore the concept of the right to life. Our Constitution asserts that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, and or property without due process of law. However, this right is not absolute. Article 3, Section 19 allows for the death penalty to be enacted for compelling reasons involving heinous crimes. We have a responsibility to protect our society, and that requires a balance between safeguarding human rights and ensuring justice for victims. The death penalty in the Philippines was suspended primarily due to concerns about human rights and the possibility of wrongful executions. But let us be clear, it is speculative and theoretical. It is rooted in fear, not fact, as there were no recorded cases of wrongful convictions leading to execution in the Philippines. In 2007, the Philippines became a party to the second optional protocol to the Government on Civil and Political Rights regarding the abolition of the death penalty. The death penalty is not about cruelty, it's about accountability. It is the ultimate form of societal protection, ensuring that those who commit the most violent acts are permanently removed from our communities. Let us consider specific cases to understand why is there a necessity for the death penalty to be reinstated. Peter Lim in 2016, a known drug lord, Lim's actions have fueled addiction, suffering, and death. Can we allow someone responsible for such destruction to continue living freely? Justice in this case demands the severest punishment. The Marawi Siege in 2017, the architects of this atrocity killed countless civilians and displaced over 100,000 people. We who live in Mindanao know these scars firsthand. For terrorists like Isnilon, Hapilon, and Abudar, the death penalty is both punishment and necessary deterrence. Ricardo Jun Ramos in 2009, a remorseless murderer of innocent women. How can we extend mercy to someone who has shown none? Justice here is not optional, it is a moral obligation. The cases I presented vividly paints us a picture why reinstating the death penalty is not just a matter of justice, but a necessity for the safety and well-being of society. Now let us preempt the opposition's argument regarding potential wrongful convictions. Again, let us be clear, this remains speculative and theoretical. The fear of wrongful executions is rooted in apprehension and not fact, as there are no recorded cases of wrongful convictions leading to execution in the Philippines. The reality we face is that victims and their family deserve justice. By reinstating the death penalty, we are sending a message of accountability to those who commit the most serious crimes. This is not about revenge. It's about protecting society, upholding justice, and ensuring the gravest acts are met with the greatest accountability. In conclusion, we must recognize that allowing those who have inflicted such deep harm to continue living among us is a betrayal of the innocent. It is our moral duty to ensure that justice is served, sending a clear message that our society will not tolerate heinous acts without consequence. We must ask ourselves, do we as a nation allow criminals who have shown no remorse, who have torn apart lives, families, and entire communities to continue living among us? The opposition may argue that death penalty is irreversible. But let us be clear, there is no reversal to the lives destroyed by the criminals we have discussed. Their victims cannot come back. The death penalty is not a rash decision. It is a necessary response to the gravity of their actions. The opposition's burden is not to justify the continuation of life of those who have shown no remorse. They must prove that such criminals deserve mercy when they themselves have shown none. They must also justify life sentences in a prison system that perpetuates suffering and crime. How can they justify showing mercy to those whose actions have torn apart the very fabric of our society? With all that being said, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First affirmative speaker from Esperanza National High School. And now, let's hear the 3-minute interpellation of our first negative speaker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
So you said that there's no significant evidences that there's a wrongful conviction here in the Philippines, right?
Wrongful convictions that leads to execution.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know the cases of Leo Echegaray?
Yes, of course.
So that doesn't mean that it has a contradiction to what you've stated. You know, it is newly stated that the case of Leo Echegaray was abolished because of judicial errors.
Are you certain that this is a wrongful conviction?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, that is the stated of the justice system as of now.
Can you provide? I don't think so.
Okay, moving on to my second question. Do you believe that the death penalty is the only option left to deter the crime here in the Philippines?
No.
Okay, so since there are proven alternatives as you stated, like community programs, let's say, and better policy, why focus on the death penalty, which is both costly and irreversible?
It is for you to prove that it is effective enough.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to my second question. Would you say that our justice system cannot protect society from serious offenders without capital punishment?
As far as I'm concerned, I have not said anything like that.
Oh, it is, Mr. Speaker. It is stated on your speech. Okay, never mind. Moving on to my next question. Is the death penalty the only way to achieve justice for victims and their families?
No, I have not said that.
If so, if others' method serves justice, why add the moral weight of ending lives?
Can you repeat the question?
If you said that it is not only the justice that we can give, if say so, if other methods serve justice, why add the moral weight of ending lives?
As I have said in the parameters, only for the most heinous crimes, not for all crimes.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, thank you for that. For my second, thank you. For my next question, would you agree with me that the death penalty is the only method to prevent re-offending dangerous criminals, as you stated in your constructed sheets?
Yes, of course.
If yes, but doesn't life imprisonment always prevent re-offending? Why support a policy with no room for error when we can ensure safety without secure and non-lethal options?
Considering the prison systems we have here in the Philippines, no.
Oh, that is why we are amending that we should strengthen our justice system, right? Before jumping into this kind of weight punishment, right?
It has been years, but it is not proven.
Okay, thank you for that. And I
You're
think
welcome.
that it is all we can say that it is stated and we
Time's
can
up.
say
Thank you very much, first negative speaker, for your interpellation. And right now, let's hear your 5 minutes constructed speech. Thanks. So your timer starts now.
to our honorable chair, adjudicators, and to my fellow debaters, good afternoon. I am Maria Delmat, the first speaker of the opposition side, arguing why it is not necessary to lift the death penalty in the Philippines. For the purpose of this debate, the death penalty refers to the state-sanctioned execution of individuals convicted of serious crimes intended as the deterrent and form of justice. Yet the Philippines abolished the punishment in 2006, affirming that the true justice lies in preventing crime by addressing its root causes and not by taking lives. Mr. Chair, the affirmative side claiming that the assertion that the society is safer with the death penalty is inaccurate. Honorable Chair, we firmly believe that the opposition firmly maintains that the public safety is not compromised by upholding life, human dignity. Mr. Chair, the framing of the government side is one-sided because the current status quo of our country, our justice system is unfair and struggling for development, and this could undermine who are in the underprivileged because we can say that we can execute a mere farmer because he isn't able to defend himself. With that, we suggest that we believe in a justice system that values human dignity, fairness, and protection of all individuals, even those who have committed wrongs. Instead of reinstating the death penalty, we propose two measures. First, a comprehensive reform of our justice system. Second, life imprisonment without parole as an alternative to execution. Given this, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, allow me to present my two strong arguments. First, death penalty has limited deterrent effect. Second, our systemic deficiencies in our justice system. Honorable Chair, the evidence is clear. The death penalty does not deter crime. According to the World Coalition Against the Death Penalty, when the Philippines last enforced capital punishment in 2006, the crime rate was 7.10 per 100,000 people. After the death penalty was suspended, it dropped to 6.7. However, it rose to 8.4 in 2006. Through its long data in the subsequent years, this statistic shows that there's no significant correlation between the death penalty and the crime reduction. Furthermore, an updated report of Numbeo 2024 Texas, a state that has a death penalty, has a 57.67 violent crime rates, higher than the New York's 55.0 rate, a state without the death penalty. Therefore, Madam Chair, crime rates are affected by numerous factors. It is not the severity of the punishment, but the predictability of the application of the law, which leads me to my second argument that our current justice system has deficiencies. Honorable Chair, reinstating the death penalty would be dangerous and unjust. Our courts are plagued by delays, corruptions, and resource limitations. According to the Supreme Court of the Philippines website, approximately 30% of our courts have low sitting judges, and 40% of DOJ prosecution positions remain vacant, and public attorneys are overwhelmed, each handling an average of 526 cases per year. Honorable Chair, if our justice system is struggling to provide fair trials, transparent proceedings, and adequate representation, we risk condemning the innocent one. The room for capital punishment is vast, and even one innocent life lost is one too many. Our proposal instead, reinstating the death penalty, let us channel resources into strengthening our justice system through comprehensive reforms. Let us improve law enforcement, ensure swifter and fairer trials, and tackle the root causes of crime through education, social welfare, and poverty alleviation. And second, life imprisonment without parole offers a safe and human alternative that keeps dangerous individuals off the street without resorting to irreversible measures. Therefore, Mr. Chair, lifting the suspension of the death penalty is not necessary nor justified. Because I urge you to ask, does the death penalty truly bring justice, or does it erode the very value we hold as a nation? Because, Mr. Chair, the negative side firmly believes that the violence is a cycle and we cannot end violence with another violence. With that, I am ready for cross-examination.
Thank you very much. First, the negative speaker. And right now, let's welcome back our first affirmative speaker for his 3-minute interpellation. And your timer starts now.
Yes.
Are you ready with my interpellation?
Yes.
Now let me start with, do you agree that death penalty is reserved only for heinous criminals
Of
and
course.
of those who are guilty beyond reasonable doubt?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Now, did you know that after abolishing the death penalty, the United Kingdom saw a rise in violent crime, with certain categories increasing by over 20% in the following years?
Mr. Speaker, you stated that this
Is it responsible to disregard data from
Kingdom.
countries that have seen crime
Mr.
after
Speaker,
abolition?
I already stated
Okay, now
that
let me proceed
situation
with my
in the Philippines.
questions. Would you agree that allowing the most dangerous offenders to leave even under life without parole poses a potential risk to public safety?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Yes or no,
I
Ms.
already
Speaker?
said.
Yes. Do you believe that society can be fully safe with these individuals alive?
Can you
I
rephrase your
refuse, I
question?
refuse.
Okay.
Should taxpayer funds be directed towards rehabilitating victims rather than maintaining individuals who commit heinous crimes in prison for life?
Mr. Honorable
Yes or
Chair.
no, Ms. Speaker?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Now,
We
do
are
you
not
support
undermining
prioritizing
victims.
long-term imprisonment spending for these criminals?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Now, do you think it's possible for some inmates to plan or influence crimes from within person?
Can you rephrase the question, please?
I refuse.
Okay.
Should the cost of maintaining convicted murderers in prison be a concern for taxpayers?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. However,
Now,
we
would the
are...
death penalty for heinous crimes be a more fiscally responsible option?
How can you say that? Mr.
Now,
Speaker,
yes or no,
that-
Ms. Speaker?
No,
Yes
Mr.
or no?
Speaker.
Now, are you concerned that allowing heinous offenders to leave could risk the safety of innocent people?
Mr. Speaker,
Yes
they
or
are
no,
already
Ms.
said
Speaker?
no,
Yes or
Mr.
no?
Speaker.
Now, do you feel it's safe to let even the most dangerous offenders live in society?
How can I...
Yes
Mr.
or no,
Speaker,
Ms. Speaker?
no, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, very good. Now, do you believe that society has a duty to protect our youth from individuals who commit
Of
heinous
course,
crimes?
Mr. Speaker.
Now,
of
given
course.
this duty, wouldn't the death penalty be an effective measure to ensure that these individuals cannot harm anyone else, including as youth, from the most heinous criminals?
Mr. Speaker, no. They are already in the cell and
Okay, now do
convicted with a
you,
life imprisonment. How
now
can
do
you say
you
that?
agree that certain crimes, such as those targeting children, are so severe that they warrant the harshest possible punishment?
No, Mr. Speaker. Can
Okay,
you
thank
proceed to
you.
your next
Now,
question?
is rehabilitation a realistic goal for individuals who have committed the most severe crimes?
Of course, Mr.
Can you
Speaker.
give examples of such individuals being rehabilitated effectively?
I refuse to provide, but however,
Okay, thank you. Now, given that life imprisonment does not prevent the offender from living out the remainder of their life, don't you think the certainty of death may send a stronger deterrent message for the most violent
I
crimes?
already protected that there's no connection to the death
So, what is
penalty.
your answer, yes or no?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Now, are you not aware of the study which states, for every execution, murder crimes are reduced to 3 to 18?
Mr. Speaker.
Hello, time is up.
Okay, thank you so
Sorry.
much.
Thank you very much, first affirmative speaker, for your interpellation. And right now, let's move on to the beneficiality and non-beneficiality of the issue. Let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the second affirmative speaker for her 5-minute constructed speech.
Good afternoon, honorable judges, esteemed opponents, and members of the audience. I am Ms. Alaraya, second speaker of affirmative side, and I would like to point out the beneficiality of lifting the suspension of death penalty. Ladies and gentlemen, human rights are essential, but they are not unconditional. Because when someone intentionally and brutally takes the life of another, these criminals forfeit their own claim to this right. Philosopher Immanuel Kant strongly argues that the state has the right to use the death penalty for heinous crimes like murders. He argues that if someone has killed another person, the only fair punishment is for that person's life to be ended. Can we, in good conscience, protect the rights of those who have shown such blatant disregard to the right of life of others? If we allow such criminals to live without fair consequences, are we truly valuing innocent lives? Next, There are also studies and evidences that proves how death penalty can deter future crimes. In a well-known study by economists Joanna M. Shepard and Polish Rubin, they have concluded that each execution prevents between 3 to 18 murders. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it our duty to use every reasonable means to protect society and even prison staff from these violent offenders? If the death penalty saves even just one life by deterring crime, isn't that a victory for justice and public safety? Next is that although it is truly important to consider the risk of executing an innocent person, but let me clarify that the accused are not simply rushed to a verdict. They are given every opportunity for their case to be fully examined. The death penalty is not a decision made lightly or in haste. It is reserved only for those who have been conclusively proven guilty, to those whose guilt is beyond any reasonable doubt. The DNA process today is more rigorous and more reliable than ever before, and it is supported by the National Registry of Exonerations in 2024, who has documented nearly 3,500 DNA exoneration cases since 1989. And most importantly, you are talking about the human rights of perpetrators. That's why they must not be executed, but instead be rehabilitated. But we must ask, what about the human rights of those who have been victimized by their crimes? If life imprisonment and rehabilitation is the alternative, is the quality of life in prison not a violation of human rights as well? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we must consider the harsh realities that come with life in prison. According to BGMP, only 21,342 inmates could be accommodated in Philippine jails. But inmate population is already at 144,871, which means that Philippine jails have reached their capacity by 582%. This is also a direct violation of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights that clearly states that all detained individuals have the right to be treated with humanity and respect. In practice, however, Philippine prisons hold more than their intended capacity, a condition that drastically compromises inmate health, safety, and dignity. Given this, we can argue that the death penalty actually offers a more humane alternative. It ends the suffering, the torment, and the degradation many prisoners experience, whereas a slow, torturing, and painful existence of life sentence in an overcrowded cell could condemn them to decades of misery. Ladies and gentlemen, the death penalty is not an easy decision. But for some crimes that deeply scar our society, it is the response that respects the value of human life and upholds the justice for the victims and their families. We believe that by lifting the suspension of the death penalty, we stand with victims, protect the safety of society, and uphold a system that truly values and honors the sanctity of life. With all that being said, I still proudly propose.
Thank you very much. Second affirmative speaker from Esperanza National High School. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our second negative speaker for his interpellation. And your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, once again, good afternoon, Ms. Speaker. So let me clarify, your side proposed death penalty in this current status quo, right?
Yes.
Okay, so given the justice system limitation, do you believe there's zero risk of an innocent person being wrongfully sentenced to death?
No.
Okay, you say no. If there's any risk of wrongful execution, doesn't that make life imprisonment a safer alternative for both justice and public safety?
How are you sure that
Okay, it is my question. Let's proceed to other. Would you agree that our justice system has limited resources that can impact the quality of investigation and defense in capital cases? Yes or
Yes, answer that.
no? Okay. Do you believe an irreversible punishment like the death penalty is worth the risk if it could result in the death of an innocent person?
I refuse to answer that.
Okay, can you guarantee that every capital case in the Philippines will have access to thorough investigation and quality legal defense knowing our status quo here in the Philippines right now?
Yes.
Okay, given the reversal rate of previous death penalty cases, would you agree that guaranteeing justice in every case remains difficult?
No.
Okay, do you think life imprisonment is a strong enough deterrent for serious crime?
No, I do not believe
Okay, can we say with certainty that the death penalty will deter better than life imprisonment, especially when innocent lives are at risk?
Yes, there are also
Okay, let's proceed to my next question. Do you agree that the Philippines' commitment to the second optional protocol to the ICCPR, which mandate the abolition of death penalty, is essential for maintaining our international reputation?
I refuse to answer that.
Okay, next question. Do you agree that reinstating the death penalty could make the Philippines appear regressive on human rights issues? Yes or no, Ms. Speaker?
No.
Okay, if you believe that reinstating the death penalty will not affect our human rights image, can you reconcile this with the international community's growing focus on abolition?
I refuse to answer.
Okay, next question. Do you agree that individuals facing capital punishment in the Philippines are often from impoverished backgrounds and lack access to adequate legal representation?
Yes.
Okay, with this in mind, doesn't the risk of wrongful conviction in such cases become much higher, making the death penalty an even more dangerous policy?
No, if we are going to
Okay,
impose
next question. Do you agree that a justice system with limited resources and underfunded defense services struggle to guarantee fair trials, especially in capital punishment cases?
Yes.
Okay, that's my interpolation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, second negative speaker. And now let's hear your 5-minute constructive speech. And your 5 minutes starts now.
To our adjudicator, affirmative side, fellow debaters, honorable member of the House, good afternoon. I am Arnie White, the second speaker for the opposition, and I'm firmly asserting that the death penalty should not be lifted. I will focus on highlighting the disadvantages of adopting the death penalty. Let us put ourselves in this situation, Madam Chair. What if, Your Honor, a person was sentenced to death and after many years found to be innocent? What could we possibly do then? Could we bring them back, restore their life, onto the tragic mistake, dig them up and apologize? Once a life is taken, no court or law can reverse it. Please answer this question, affirmative side. Is that a risk we are truly willing to take, knowing that innocent people could be wrongfully executed? Next is, Madam Chair, I will first, Madam Chair, we already set out our mechanism, which life imprisonment without parole. Given the parameter of the other side that is only guilty who's within your strength, well, there is always due process to follow, Madam Chair. We are not disregarding the victim, but rather saying that there is enough punishment for them. Moving on, as the beneficiary of the opposition side, I will present to you my two arguments to support our claim. First is the risk of executing innocent individuals and the human right concern. For my first argument, which is risk of executing innocent individuals, Your Honor, the justice system is not flawless and wrongful conviction are possible. Reinstating the death penalty could lead to irreversible mistakes where innocent individuals are executed. In the Philippines, limited resources for thorough investigation and legal defense can increase this risk, making a sentences a safer alternative. Your Honor, a 2004 study by the Free Legal Assistance Group, or FLAG, found that the Supreme Court reversed or modified 71.77% of 907 death penalty conviction from 1993 to 2004 due to the judgment error or insufficient evidence. This high reversal rate exposes the dangers of reintroducing the death penalty in a system prone to critical mistakes. Now, Your Honor, imagine if every one of these whose sentence were overturned and have been executed. Innocent lives lost without appeal, correction, or redemption. This statistic is a stark reminder that in a fluid system, the death penalty risks irreversible loss of innocent lives with no way to undo the tragic mistake. So given that, it is really not beneficial to lift the suspension for death penalty in the Philippines. Now moving on to my second argument, which is a human right concern. Your Honor, the Philippines ratified the second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, or CCPR, in 2007, which commits countries to abolish the death penalty. This international legal framework has made it challenging for the Philippines to reinstate capital punishment without violating its obligation.
Your Honor, breaking this commitment risks international backlash, damaging the Philippines' reputation and straining relations. Could reinstating the death penalty tarnish our global image? Also, Your Honor, recall that one of the reasons the Philippines abolished the death penalty in 2006 was disadvantaged background of many defendants who couldn't afford quality legal representation. The public attorneys or PAO is overburdened and under-resourced, affecting the quality of defense. For these individuals, PAO lawyers manage heavily caseloads, often with limited time and resources, especially for those facing capital cases. Your Honor, given this, are we ensuring justice or we are risking lives in a system that struggles to protect the vulnerable? Madam Chair, we believe that until the justice system is fully equipped to guarantee fair trials and avoid mistakes, implementing the death penalty would be a hasty and dangerous choice. Let us all be reminded that this isn't just about punishment. Your Honor, it's about the kind of justice we believe in. Are we willing to trust a system with the ultimate power over life and death when mistakes are inevitable and lives are at stake? The question there is the Philippines ready? Once a life is taken, there is no going back. We cannot undo a wrongful execution. The death penalty is a risk we cannot afford, especially when our justice system has not foolproof. Do we want to be remembered for the lives we saved or the ones we wrongly took? Ladies and gentlemen, the choice is ours. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Second negative speaker. And right now, do you have a question? Yes, attorney.
Okay, this is just a hypothetical question. I have heard from you, Mr. Speaker, that am I correct to hear from you that the Philippines, as of the time being, is not ready?
Yes, madam.
That is why you are objecting
Yes,
for
madam.
the...
Yes, madam.
Okay. In other words, if it is ready, can it be possible?
No, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, attorney. And now let's proceed to the interpellation of our second affirmative speaker. And your 3 minutes starts now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Second Speakers. I will proceed now with my interpellation. Okay, my first question is, will criminals who have committed heinous crimes continue to influence outside networks from prison? Do you think life imprisonment is an effective deterrent?
Yes, Miss.
Then how are you going to address the ongoing crimes in prison?
The other side,
Yes or no, Mr. Speaker?
rephrase your question.
I refuse to.
Okay.
Okay, proceed to my second question. Can life imprisonment truly provide closure and sense of justice to the families of victims?
Yes, Miss Speaker.
How about those studies that have shown that families will only feel relieved if the criminal is executed?
It's for you to find out.
Okay. So is it fair for families of victims that they may have to endure ongoing appeals and parole hearings that can reopen old wounds?
Can you please shorten your question?
I refuse to.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Do you think it is fair to provide lifelong support and resources to a convicted criminal while a victim's family receives no true of closure or justice?
No.
It is not fair, right? So you just implicitly told us that life imprisonment is not the true form of justice.
No.
Okay, so next question. If the offenders show no remorse or rehabilitation potential, does it justify the death penalty is the most applicable way to stop future crimes from happening?
Yes.
If yes, then you just agreed with our argument. Next
Okay.
question. In a good conscience, are you going to contribute your tax money to cover the long-term welfare, housing, and healthcare of convicted criminals?
It's human dignity.
Okay. Then next question. If the death penalty could potentially prevent even a few future murders, would you consider it worth implementing?
Repeat again.
I refuse to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any moral obligations to prioritize the life of a person who has committed heinous crimes over the collective right of society to live in safety?
Yes, why not?
Then it means, are we not sacrificing the safety of society as a whole? If
We're
going
not saying that, Miss Speaker.
You just said so. Okay. Next question. Are you afraid of the hypothetical wrongful conviction and imperfect judiciary rather than the existence of heinous criminals that could possibly be a great threat to our society?
Miss Speaker, it's not hypothetical.
Okay, yes or no only.
I refuse. It's not hypothetical. Thank you.
Next, we argue that the Philippines is not ready. That is why you are opposing.
Yes.
So aren't you just agree to our side that this is possible if we provide safeguards?
Can you repeat?
Okay, you argue that the Philippines is not ready. That is why you are opposing. So aren't you just agreeing to our side that it is possible if we are going to provide safeguards?
Reform the justice system
No, only
first.
yes or no only, Mr. Speaker.
Reform the justice system first.
Yes or no only, Mr. Speaker.
Reform the justice system first.
Yes or no
It's for
only,
you
Mr.
to find
Speaker.
out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, second affirmative speaker, for your 3-minute interpellation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the practicability and non-practicability of the issue. So, right now, we will move on to our third affirmative speaker for her 5-minute constructive speech. And your timer starts now.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alicia Estares, and I speak before you the practicability of lifting death penalty in the Philippines. While my colleagues have already established the necessity and benefits of this policy, I will now show you how it can be realistically implemented in our society today with the bounds of our laws and resources. Let me begin by pointing out that the legal infrastructure to reinstate the death penalty already exists. The Philippines Republic Act 7659, or the death penalty law, was in place from 1993 to 2006 after it was suspended through Republic Act 9346. This means that, legally speaking, the framework for capital punishment is already in place and can be reactivated through legislative action because it has its purpose. I understand the concerns about wrongful convictions, but modern safeguards are in place to prevent such errors. Today, the Philippine judiciary has improved its mechanisms for due process, and the Supreme Court has continually redefined its processes to ensure fairness and accuracy in sentencing. Additionally, the re-establishment of the death penalty would come with enhanced procedures, greater scrutiny, more stringent evidence standards, and rigorous review panels. Our legal system is prepared to handle this with the National Bureau of Investigation and police forces working in tandem to gather archival evidences. We can see to the fact that wrongful convictions probably happened in the past, a time when advanced technologies did not exist to mitigate the risk of wrongful executions. However, we are talking about lifting the suspension of death penalty in the present, not in the past. Just because mistakes happened before does not mean it will happen again today, because after those instances, the justice system in our country was strengthened and guarded by our Constitution. Internationally, many countries have successfully maintained the death penalty with safeguards to protect the innocent. Countries like Singapore, Japan, and even parts of the United States have managed to apply the death penalty effectively and safely, ensuring that it is only carried out when there is absolute certainty about the guilt of the perpetrator. These countries provide valuable precedents for us to follow in the developing a system that is both humane and just. Another point is, the Filipino people overwhelmingly support the death penalty, especially for heinous crimes such as terrorism, drug-related offenses, and rape. In 2018, nearly 6 in every 10 Filipinos agreed that the death penalty should be reinstated for heinous crimes, according to a study that Social Weather Stations and the Commission on Human Rights conducted. Public opinion is a crucial factor in the practicability of policy implementation. The Philippine Congress, with the backing of the people, can swiftly pass a bill to reinstate the death penalty, ensuring that it becomes part of our legal system again. The political will is there, and it's a matter of translating the support into action. The 2024 budget for Bureau of Jail Management and Penology amounts to 23.87 billion pesos, up by almost 7% by the previous year's 22.33 billion pesos. Isn't it unfair to the Filipino taxpayers to fund the necessities of these criminals? This House believes that these billions of pesos will be better spent on improving the quality of education, healthcare services, and employment. Opponents will argue about the logistics of carrying out the death penalty, especially the cost and efficiency of the process. But let's be clear, the cost of maintaining a criminal in prison for a lifetime, often for crimes as gruesome as mass murder or terrorism, is far higher than the cost of executing them. Moreover, there are efficient ways to carry out executions that are humane, swift, and economically feasible. Even if we impose lifetime imprisonment to respect the lives of these criminals, as they have every right to live under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Don't you think that we are risking the lives of more innocent people by prolonging the lives of these criminals? For instance, in 2015, an 8-year-old girl was sexually assaulted by an inmate in a toilet while visiting her father in one of the prisons here in the Philippines. She was found sprawled on the bathroom floor, naked from the waist down with a rope tied on her neck. Is this something we want in our society? In conclusion, the practicability of lifting the suspension of death penalty is not just theoretical. It is achievable and manageable within the framework of our current legal and judicial system. With proper safeguards, an informed judiciary, and the political will of the people, the Philippines can restore the death penalty in a fair and just manner. The burden of proof lies with the opposition. They must show that, despite the existing legal framework, the practical difficulties of reinstating the death penalty outweigh the pressing need for it. Until then, we must proceed with the understanding that lifting the suspension is not only feasible, but imperative for the future of our country. Before the opposition raises concerns about moral implications, let me
Time's up. Thank you very much. Third affirmative speaker. And right now, let's welcome our third negative speaker for his 3-minute interpellation.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. Speaker.
Hello,
So
Mr.
earlier,
Speaker.
your team asserted that inmates are jam-packed in the cells, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying that it's better to kill them for them to breathe?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so for my the next question, Ms. Speaker, are you aware of the current status quo of the Philippines, specifically the justice system?
Yes.
Okay, so with you being aware, are you also aware that the current system that we have is flawed?
Are you sure about that?
Of course. Are you?
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Speaker, is there a clear plan to ensure that death penalty cases are handled without error? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so can you guarantee that every case will be error-free? Even a small risk of wrongful execution can be justified? Yes or no?
I refuse to answer that question.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that long verbal cue. So can the government ensure that socioeconomic disparities won't affect access to quality legal defense in death penalty cases?
I refuse to answer that question.
Okay, very good. So is the death penalty a cost-effective solution compared to life imprisonment?
Yes.
Okay, so you said yes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, are you aware that studies often show high costs for death penalty cases? Can you show otherwise?
Considering its
Okay,
how
thank
essential
you.
it is to avoid wrongful
This is my interpellation. So do you believe that executing individuals is morally justifiable in a system where wrongful convictions have occurred? Yes or no?
I refuse to answer that
Okay,
question.
very good. Are you aware that death penalty cases are typically more costly than life sentences due to extended trials and appeals, considering it here in the Philippines?
No.
Okay, so would it change your perspective to know that studies from various countries indicate that death penalty cases often exceed the cost of non-capital cases? Yes or no, Ms. Speaker?
Philippines only, Mr. Speaker. Let's.
No, this is in the perspective of the Philippines, Ms. Speaker. If you've listened well, then you would know, okay? So do you believe the reintroduction of the death penalty will guarantee crime reduction in the Philippines?
I refuse to answer that
Okay,
question.
very good. So, how do you respond to studies showing that countries without that death penalty often have lower crime rates than those that still use it?
Can you shorten the question, Mr. Speaker?
No, I refuse to. Do you think the risk of bias and corruption within the judicial system could impact the fairness of death penalty sentences?
It does not exist in our judicial system.
No, answer the question, yes or no?
I refuse to answer the
Okay,
question.
very good. You keep on refusing my question. So do you agree that there are often racial, economic, and social biases in capital sentencing? Yes or no? Yes or no, Speaker?
Time's up. Thank you very much, third negative speaker, for your interpellation. And now, let us hear your 5-minute constructive speech. And your timer starts now.
To our adjudicator, to the affirmative side, my fellow debaters and honorable members of this House, good afternoon to each and everyone. I am Gian Takeshi Kanyang, the third speaker for the opposition side, firmly asserting that the suspension of death penalty should not be lifted, as it is not a practical move for the country to lift the suspension of death penalty. But first, Your Honor, I would like to debunk the statement of the second argument in which they stated that death penalty provides a closure for the victims, but Your Honor, according to the Death Penalty Information Center, reports that capital cases involve lengthy appeals processes which can delay closure for families. Many families of victims, including those in murder victims, families for human rights argue that the process often causes more pain rather than helping them heal. Your Honor, I have here two arguments on what that will support why it is not practical for the Philippines to lift the suspension of death penalty, which are high financial costs and the challenges in judicial efficiency. Let me ask you this question, Your Honor. Are we ready to risk lives in a system still fighting to deliver fair and timely justice? Lifting the suspension of death penalty is not just a policy choice, Your Honor. It is a question of life, trust, and responsibility. For my first argument, Your Honor, is the high financial cost. Your Honor, I would like to emphasize that executing a death penalty system is costly, requiring additional funds for extended trial processes, appeals, and specialized detention facilities. Your Honor, this can be supported by the given data of Death Penalty Information Center, which states that a study in Oregon reported that capital cases could be up to 3 to 4 times more expensive than non-capital cases, with costs averaging around $1.1 million for death sentences versus $300,000 for non-capital sentences. Moreover, according to the survey of Task Force in 2018 commissioned by the Commission on Human Rights, stated that 63% of Filipino stated that most people on death row are poor people and cannot afford a good lawyer. For the task force also emphasized that the cost of competently defending a person facing the death penalty could conservatively place at $329,000 a year. More so, the task force added that it would be difficult for a family with an average income of $22,000 a month or about $267,000 a year to bear the cost of litigation, as can be seen in the 2015 Family Income and Expenditure Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority. The Philippines is a lower to middle income country to which the annual reports published by the Department of Budget and Management detailing the country's budget allocation across sectors. The 2023 budget allocates $26.8 billion for the DOJ and $5 billion for Bureau of Correction. Now, given the high cost of death penalty, which could bring another burden to the already stretched thin resources that the current justice system have, this brings us to my second argument, Your Honor, which is the challenges in judicial efficiency. Your Honor, instead of focusing on lifting the suspension of death penalty, wouldn't it be better if we focus on improving the Philippine judicial system, which could be more practical and cost-effective than reinstating the death penalty? Your Honor, the Philippines judicial system is notoriously slow and overburdened. As of 2022, the Supreme Court reported a backlog of over 600,000 cases across all courts, resulting in extended waiting periods and delays in case resolution. Capital cases, Your Honor, would further strain the system, requiring even longer trials and appeals due to the severity of the penalty. Your Honor, according to the study of Alvin Murcia, investing in strengthening the justice system rather than reinstating the death penalty could greatly improve the Philippine justice system's efficiency, particularly in reducing case backlog. Your Honor, instead of spending money on lifting the suspension of death penalty, why not we focus this on improving the justice system? Now, Your Honor, what would our country look like if the death penalty were reinstated? Given these financial implications, should we really not reconsider the practicality of reinstating the death penalty? Even if one innocent person could pay the price, isn't that too high of a cost? Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it is better to choose a path that values fairness and accountability rather than risking lives in a system that is not ready for such a burden. Thank you. I'm now ready for my cross-examination.
Thank you very much. Third negative speaker. And now let's welcome back our third affirmative speaker for her 3-minute interpellation and rating. Ay, sorry po, attorney. Question? Yes,
Mr. Speaker, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You identify that there is a need for our judicial system to be
Reformed, yes.
reformed.
Yes.
As a member of the courts, being a member of the IDP, I would like to hear from you, from your point of view, what would be the best policy would you like to introduce for our judicial system
Your Honor,
so that this death penalty should not